Alrighty, so does the NateChrony look a bit naff? Yeah, possibly. So we had a lot of feedback on the appearance of the NateChrony. So I just want to take you through a few of the different iterations. You may have seen some early models that looks different now. Obviously, we just launched the V2, etc., and some explanations behind that. So I'm a functional person, and the goal of the NateChrony was to make a chronograph that first and foremost is accurate, works reliably every single time, and is affordable. So that sort of puts some constraints around the processes that you use to make something. Yes, it's 3D printed. A lot of people balk at 3D printed because you can do it at home. If I was to use an industrial process to do the molding for these devices, it would be 2, maybe 3 molds. Each of those would be about $10,000 each. And then you're constrained, and that's the exact design. No improvements, no modifications later on. If I improve the product or find a way to make it better, it's going to cost me another $10,000, if not change multiple molds, $20,000, $30,000 to do an improvement. 3D printing, do a couple of those ones with the jazz hands. An hour later, every single NateChrony after that is improved. So that's why the NateChrony, again, the cost of doing an industrial process because of the internal complexity and geometry of the body of the NateChrony makes it extremely expensive. So coming a little bit closer, and we'll go through a few of what they sort of look like over time, and we can sort of explain why. Alrighty, so these are the different versions and iterations of the NateChrony. We've got the very early original one that we had at the British Shooting Show. This is what we sort of launched with. So you can see there, we used a specific type of filament that's quite shiny, so you can see the lines, it's glossy. It makes every imperfection really stand out. The reason we use the materials we do, there's a safety component around using specific materials and also a performance component. We couldn't choose at this time a better looking material without compromising the long-term longevity and performance of the product, so we stuck with it. You've got little covers with some exposed Phillips head screws. Yeah, it looks like it's been put together because it has been put together. The reason for that, we want to make sure that it's serviceable. Some people have had to clean sensors after 500 shots. Some have lasted over 1,000 without cleaning. So yes, you can service this yourself very easily. We don't want weird screws, all these different clips that can break over time. It needs to be accessible. We also initially used the circuit board for some labeling and some details there. So yeah, it's an exposed circuit board with some covers, bits and pieces hiding that. So that's the original one. Yeah, printer lines all over it. We had to use that particular type of filament at the time. All the ones that have been getting sent over the last couple of months have been this. So this is a fiber reinforced polymer, slightly different to the existing one, still maintains the characteristics of the previous filament. So you've got the safety aspect and the performance aspect, but has a really nice satin sheen to it. We also stepped up, got our laser etching machine here, so all the logos are laser etched. Much, much nicer in appearance. We don't have 2 separate shades. It's more expensive, more plastic, but we just have the single cover there, but still the same form factor. Looks exactly the same overall. The Mini, we jumped straight with that second type of filament. Again, has a much nicer sheen to it. The stainless steel screws we blackened, so it looks a little bit nicer. But yeah, overall, same sheen finish on that. So if you do see a review of this, it's because that was given out and that was sold a while ago. Everything for the last couple of months, say since May, has been this new type. So if you're seeing something like that, it's just an older model. Functionality-wise, they are absolutely all identical. Well, the 2 standards are absolutely identical in terms of performance, features, etc., etc., etc. The V2, that uses the same filament again. So I'm not sure if we can get a good close-up here. But yeah, it's a much, much nicer satin finished type of filament. Much nicer details on it. You can't really see the print lines. So that's going to be the finish on the V2. And of course, if you want to go the anodized aluminium, that will be available, as well as the other ones. So some of the other feedback as well, in terms of the adapters, so we use a very specific type of screw. It's a trilobular screw or a plastite screw, which has a very specific coarse thread, and the shape of that thread is very specific, and it's for plastics. That means that when you're doing the screws up, they're going to be really easy and suddenly stop. They don't slowly get tight. So in terms of stripping the threads in the adapters, you're going to be doing something pretty bad if you do strip the threads in the adapter, because it's very obvious when they stop, because we've used that very specific type of screw. Even when you do strip an adapter thread, there's actually 4 holes. We accounted for that. I knew it would be a potential problem. Turn it 90 degrees, there's going to be another hole. When you strip the second thread out, 90 degrees, there's your third one. You strip that out again, there's your 4th hole. When you've done all the holes, go to the backup adapter. So that's why you've got 2 adapters and you've got 4 holes for the different grub screws. You have to strip threads of 8 different holes over and over and over again before you need to buy anything. So we've accounted for that. The type of material we use on the adapters, again, is very specific for performance and, again, safety reasons. So it's going to look liney, it's going to look shiny. There is a purpose and a design specifically for that particular material. Also, because it's liney, it's going to make it a little bit easier to grip and pull out if you do need to change, etc. So that does have some added functionality. The adapters themselves, the optional one, so it comes with half UNF threaded adapters. Yes, the variable adapters and custom adapters do cost extra. If I was to include every adapter, what are you going to do with them? You're going to throw them in the bin because you may not need them. So it's important to keep the cost down. I don't put unnecessary things into the NateChrony package. So yes, half UNF threaded adapters are by far the most popular. Things like moderators, we have the variable adapters of different sizes or unthreaded barrels. So you can keep the cost down by choosing only what you actually need. So that's the reason for the adapters. That's the reason they look the way that they are. If you snap or break an adapter, if it's on the end of something, you bang it, the thing that's going to be damaged is going to be the adapter. That is the cheapest part to replace. That's by design. So if you do have an accident, it's only going to cost you 10 bucks, 5 pounds, or whatever it is to replace the adapter. Again, that's by design. That's why you have things like adapters, the way that they look, etc. So there is a little bit of method and madness behind the way that the things look, and they may look a bit meh, but again, safety, performance, and they've actually designed constraints around why we use the materials that we do. So hopefully that clarifies up a little bit more about the NateChrony, the feedback about it looking a bit naff. 100% agree. The early ones, 3D printing, the goal was to sell a chronograph that was affordable and worked perfectly. If you don't like the look of 3D printing, we now have aluminium. If you don't like the NateChrony, well, go and buy another chronograph that doesn't perform as well. Adapters, because it's muzzle mounted, lots of guns are going to be different. There needs to be a change, something different, which is why we chose the adapter approach as well. So feedback, comments down below if we could further improve the design and the aesthetics of the NateChrony. Give us your feedback. Let us know what you would like to see, what you think could be a little bit better, and we'll see how we do. Enjoy your tuning.